Hello, welcome to another Anyone Can Play Guitar video. We've been talking a lot about theory, and theory is great, but at some point the whole idea behind learning theory is so that you can eventually play stuff, right? So I thought I would dip my toes in some instructional stuff. Today we're going to take the major scale that we learned and figure out how to play it on the guitar. So, thankfully, this has already been figured out for us for decades and decades and years. But lots of people have different methods for how you put these notes together on the guitar neck. I've was introduced to a great method that boils everything down to just 5 positions, 5 shapes on the guitar, which is pretty common, but it works really great. I think it's nice, and it's certainly served me well in my playing. So we're going to break this down one video at a time. We're going to take a look at each pattern, what's unique about that pattern, and yeah, we'll take it just one shape at a time. So what I want you to do as we go through these patterns is to memorize not just the pattern, but also where the roots are in the pattern. And we'll take a look at the shape on the board, and you can see that the root notes are the ones that are circled. And another thing is I want you to be strict about the fingering. I believe that the fingering that I will introduce to you is the most efficient fingering that there is for these scales. Most people say you could do it however you want, and sometimes yes, and I think in this case it's better just to do what I say. Right? Anyway, so here we go. Let's take a look at pattern 1. Alright, so it's the first pattern, which means it's going to start on the first note of a major scale. So we need some scale to work with as we go through these examples. So a common key for playing songs and for maybe some chords that you might already know is the key of G, G major. So we will be doing all of these examples in G. So what are the notes of a G major scale? So here's where the theory part comes in. Whether you use your whole, half, whole, half formula, or you go to the circle, you will discover that a G major scale has 1 sharp in it, and that it is F sharp. So the notes then are G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and back to G. So it's pretty easy to remember. It's got all natural notes starting from G, except for that 1 F sharp. Alright, so this position here, this is our 6th string over on the left side and the 1st string over on the right, so it's like we're looking at the guitar this way. And we're going to start with our 3rd fret in this case, because we're playing a G major scale. So our 3rd fret note on the 6th string is a G note. And we're going to play that as the fingering suggests with our 2nd finger. And we'll see why as we go along. Alright, so there we go. There's our first note. G. Alright, and then we go up a whole step and play with our pinky, the A note on the same string. Alright, so at this point I'm out of fingers unless I slide, so I'm going to move to the next string. So G, A, B, 2nd fret of the 3rd string, C, 3rd fret, D. Alright, so this is why we started with our 2nd finger, 2, 4, and now that allows me to more easily reach up to that B. Alright, then we go, let's see, where are we? That's our E note, there's our F sharp, and there's our G, another G. So we've got a root note on the 6th string and a root note on the 4th string. So you recognize that interval as an octave. So that's 1 octave of the G major scale. As you're playing these, I want you to also focus on your right hand. I want you to alternate your picking as you go. So we'll start the scale on a down stroke, and then we'll alternate from there. So up, down, up, down, up. This allows you to, again, be more economical as you're playing. We're taking advantage of both directions. All right, so we're at our G here, which is the second circled note. And so we've got one octave where we've gone from here to here, and now we can go up the next octave. So that's G, A, B, C, D. So this is interesting. Instead of going to our first finger, we go to our second finger there, due to the way that the guitar is tuned. E, there's another F sharp, and there's another G, and that's our final root. All right, and then just because we can, so like we were down here on the 6th string, we went G, A, so we know that any notes that we play on the 6th string, we can also play on the 1st string. So if we played an A on this string, we can play it on the 1st string as well. You can also hit that note. That goes for the note on the bottom as well. We hit an F sharp here, so we can hit an F sharp there. It's not up on the chart, but using our theory knowledge, if an F sharp note is in a G scale and we're playing a G scale, then we can play F sharp. Of course you can. Chords of a G major scale. All right, so the things to keep in mind as you're working on this, where the roots are. So in this case, we have roots on the 6th string, the 4th string, and the 1st string. Again, using those octaves that we looked at in that other video. And this will be important as we go to each successive pattern, because the patterns kind of overlap a little bit and interlock with one another. So knowing where those roots are will help find the common notes between patterns, and also just anytime you can think more deeply about the actual notes that you're playing when you're playing anything is good. So in the future, when you're trying to solo or play a melody or whatever, you can more easily figure out perhaps which pattern would work in this area of the guitar for whatever key you're in, because you know where those root notes are. So pay close attention to where those are as you go, and alternate your picking as you're playing through them. And then one final thing that applies to all of these, that something that I did when I was first learning these that I think was really useful. You could probably find some way to do this technologically, but at the time what I did is I got a little bag, and I got these little round pieces of wood, like little chips or whatever, like game pieces type thing. You could use slips of paper, it doesn't really matter. And then just write all of your major scales on each of those pieces of paper. So you'd have one piece of paper that says A, one that says B flat, one that says C, one that says D, etc. And then you just mix it all up and you pull one out when you're ready to practice, and you challenge yourself to play that scale. So say I pull out the E flat, I got to figure out how to play E flat. And that is wonderful practice to get you used to figuring out where notes are on the guitar and then being able to play them. So that means that something that is more common, like G or C, is just as easy to figure out as something like A flat or E flat or F sharp or whatever, right? Those keys don't become taboo, they're just more keys. So you'd have to go to your E flat note. And that's another nice thing, is that this shape, wherever you put it on the neck, whichever note your second finger is under or on, is whatever key you're playing. So if I'm playing a G scale, and then I move it up to my 5th string, 5th fret, and I play the same thing, now I'm playing an A scale because I started on an A note. So All right, so that's it for pattern 1. I'm breaking these into individual videos because I want you to take time with each of them. So don't just blow through. I want you just to watch this video, take a week, 2 weeks, however long it takes you. Do the little thing with the bag, pull out a key, practice just this one pattern, paying attention to where those roots are, paying attention to your alternate picking, and then, once you feel like you've got it, move on to the next video, and we'll do that for the remaining 4. So, thank you for watching. Leave any questions or comments in the comments, and I'll see you next time.